Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel here, Doom Productions, home of the No Budget Film School, and this is another episode of Filmmaker Hangout. Today, oops, knocked my mic. Today we are covering stuff that we kind of covered in the last few episodes. We covered our origin story. So how we got into movies and how we started making movies, and it was not enough time. We felt 30 minutes each to cover all that. It felt like cramming a whole bunch into it.
Yeah.
So we thought we would go through our kind of greatest hits of the movies we've made, our milestones, if it will, from the very beginning to the very end, and we would take it one film at a time and tell you all what we learned on each project and kind of take you through our journey at a more micro level, movie to movie. Trying to, I guess, to teach you guys, how we started, how, like, giving you any advice we can through any of these projects, but also, if you haven't seen these movies, like, introduce you all to them. And there'll be a playlist in the description. We made it, it's called Doom Productions Greatest Hits. Oh yeah, or the card, whichever one, I can't remember.
Try to do my slip. It's right there.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, so check it out. Before you watch this, today we're covering Rendezvous Midnight. So check it out. But honestly, if it's spoiled for you, it's not. I mean, it was our first short, so it's not a huge, like, you're not missing out if you hear it spoiled here, then you go and watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rendezvous Midnight.
Rendezvous Midnight.
Okay.
The title. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Just sounded. I wanted something. I remember thinking I want something that sounded pretentious.
Literally?
I think so, yeah, because I was like, it needed to sound like a weird crime. Because crime titles, sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't, but they always sound cool. And that's what Rendezvous Midnight was. It was like, whatever that is, that sounds kind of cool, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like, actually, I can't think of another crime movie. I was going to say Goodfellas, but that does have a connection to it. But
Yeah.
It's a crime movie, obviously.
Only God Forgives. That's
Only God Forgives. Well, actually, that does relate.
Never mind.
I could go into that. You take that back. So I was watching a lot of Breaking Bad at the time, I think. And I think you see a lot of that influence in here.
You pull tracks directly from it, even.
I pulled tracks from Breaking Bad. I always love Westerns. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's my favorite movie of all time. So I really came up with, like, the scene I wanted to shoot. I wanted to shoot a standoff. I wanted to shoot, like, a crime thing. I wanted to have it kind of be that neo-Western kind of feel like Breaking Bad was. And so that's kind of where the inspiration came from. And I think the songs had a huge part of that, because at the time I didn't really care if we used music that was copyrighted or licensed or anything like that. So I was like, hey, this song inspires me, so I'm just going to put it in the movie. And back then, when we released this, I think YouTube was pulling tracks.
You would, like, mute videos.
It would mute videos if you had copyrighted music on.
I don't know how we got around that.
So I think, thankfully, the tracks were. I mean, there were certain tracks that you could use, and YouTube would flag and be like, "This might be copywritten, but you have to check it."
Yeah.
And I think we never did or something. So somehow you were able to like, if you used a Beatles song, oh, your audio would be screwed, like you'd be muted. But for this, it didn't matter. Today, it doesn't matter at all. So if we wanted to make this exact same short, release it,
we would use the same songs.
Exactly.
We just wouldn't be able to monetize. Which is no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. So that's where, like, the kind of, I mean, it kind of to show you the wonderful thing of, like, we kind of came, this movement of filmmaking is kind of using tracks and not caring about the copyright, like some people do in the no budget film school filmmaking movement. It kind of reminds us when I think every filmmaker hears a song and it inspires a scene in your head and you want to shoot it. And then usually it's like, oh, I can't do that because I can't use a song, but you can.
Yeah.
And especially when you're starting out, like, there's no better time to use tracks than when you're starting out.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a whole tangent. But
yeah.
So I wrote it. The writing sucks, but this is like the first short.
It's like all exposition.
It's all exposition. It is. I mean, I was in high school, and yeah, I can't even. I mean, obviously, influenced by Breaking Bad, westerns, and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember if I storyboarded or shot listed this.
We
Was it
storyboarded it. I remember we had the whiteboard where we had all the sticky notes. We had each storyboard as a sticky note, and we would have them on a whiteboard that was on wheels, and we had that.
Yes. Okay, that's right. So we did have storyboards, and they were on a big rolly whiteboard. You probably see them in office buildings and stuff like that. But okay, let's bag it up. Who's in it?
So we got a cast of Wyatt and I. This was my first leading role in a movie.
Yeah.
We also had Travis and Ian and Andrew.
Yes.
And then Tim was on set.
Tim was on set.
But we don't know what he did.
Yeah, I think he was moving lights.
He must have been.
Here's the equipment we had. We had a Canon. Was it a T2?
No, that was before the Canon. That was the red camera.
That was
Wyatt's red
camera.
It was a Nikon.
Nikon. It was a Nikon. It was a DSLR of some sort. Yeah. We had a work light, like you can get at Home Depot.
Extension cable, so we could have it plugged in.
And we shot in our church's parking lot. And that was...
And they had street lights.
Street lights.
They were only on until 10. So we had like very limited time to shoot this.
Yes. And you'll actually notice that if you watch the movie, I think near the... Because we shot in chronological. I don't think those parking lot lights are on in the very end because they shut off.
Yeah. We also had, I think, only one battery for the camera.
Yeah. The camera battery died. Yeah. So the end of the movie is shot on a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's see. So I think I can't remember how I pulled it all together, how I got everybody together. I think it was as simple as like, hey, do you want to do this project?
Yeah, that's how a lot of our stuff was. It was pretty, like we wouldn't go, or there wasn't a lot of planning put into it. It was very much just, hey, this weekend we're shooting a movie. Are you free? And it was high school. All of us were free generally. Yeah. So it was pretty, I don't know, unceremonious in how we'd get cast.
Yeah. But it did feel like a big event because it was like the first time, you spend your whole life dreaming about making a movie and this felt like...
read-throughs even.
We did a script read-through. I remember we could not stop laughing.
We'd make jokes about
we would make jokes because we would like be like, that's what she said, or like just really dumb jokes like that. So I remember us dying laughing reading through the script several times.
I remember that too.
I remember us getting pizza. That was a mistake, as you know. Side note, last Saturday we shot and we had Taco Bell.
Ooh.
That hurt so bad, but the Taco Bell was in the movie, so we like couldn't.
You had to.
We had to, but I guess we didn't need to buy like two bags of Taco Bell. Anyway, that's a side note. Yeah, so we showed up, we ate, did the read through, and we shot 2 nights.
Yeah.
The first night, I remember it was kind of, here's your first attempt, because it was raining. So
like raining hard.
It was raining really hard. And so I think we filmed up to a certain point. If you watch the movie, there's pretty much 2 main blocking bits. There's parts where the 2 characters are
in the parking lot by themselves.
And then they walk to meet this car. So we filmed up to the walk, and then we cut there because it was raining so hard. But I remember this was, for me, what I really took away from this was coverage and like how to get coverage and what's the best way to get coverage. Because no one teaches you how to do that. You kind of have to learn what works best for you.
Yeah.
And what works best for the crew. I mean, your experience on it was as an actor, was there any like filmmaking thing that you took away from this first one? I mean, what's your primary memory? Because for me, it is that coverage. It was like, oh, this is how you organize a shoot. This is what shots you get when and that kind of stuff.
I mean, this was the first project I was exposed to camera stuff at all. Because the first project I had worked on was the one before this, and I was like an extra for a lot of it. But for this, like we had met up a couple times before, and we're like, we were trying out like, oh, would you want to have you on like a longboard laying down, and I was going to push you to follow the feet. We ended up not doing that. There was a whole bunch of like trial and stuff, and I kind of enjoyed that, but I didn't have much of an interest at that point. I hadn't quite gotten the camera bug yet, so I was like still like set on acting and just kind of focused. I was very much in my my little square of acting. I wasn't really interested too much in that. One thing I do remember specifically was after we did our first shoot when in the rain. One of the big things that was an issue was audio.
Oh yeah.
Because we had an umbrella over the camera, so you'd have those heavy like pitter patter sounds coming through.
Yeah.
And it would like the audio is like unusable. Even though we did use it actually that footage as the trailer for the movie.
Yeah. Did we go over the equipment we had?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No microphone.
No, it was onboard camera mic, so not great. Kind of captures everything. But I just remember like, I don't know, as an actor, I think for that, and it's been so long, I don't remember a ton, but like, it was one of those weird situations, I guess, in high school where you're trying so hard to be cool. It's one of those roles that's so hard to convincingly pull up as a high schooler.
Well, it's not well written though.
No,
like,
I mean, but like, I'm a cop, but I look like I'm freaking 14.
Yeah, it feels very, it's very amateur hour in terms of, because it hit, it's kids with guns and sunglasses pretending to be cops. I mean, like, that's what you see when you watch it. You're going to see just like kids goofing around, trying to be serious and cool, but it's not. But it's cool.
But it's
like
fun. It's fun to look back on.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I mean.
So let's go through, I guess, so we did the setup.
Pros and cons, maybe?
Yeah. Or I was thinking about how the shoot went, though.
I can't remember. No, I'm joking. The shoot, remember, felt long, but it probably was only a few hours.
Probably like 3 hours. Or 4 at most.
3 or 4, but I don't know. I remember running around a whole bunch. It was me with the camera.
We had made a rig for it out of PVC pipe.
Did we?
We did.
I don't remember that. That's
I remember
awesome.
that 'cause I made it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Very Film Riot inspired.
So I remember the shoot going good. I remember... So hard to remember because it was like...
It was 2013, 2012, 2012.
That was like 8 years ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess pros and cons then.
Sorry, can't share with you all what you remember. I'm trying to think of any memory though, because like that is valuable. I guess I mean really, what my main takeaway was really just coverage and storyboarding and like how to get shots and when to get them. So pros and cons, I guess. Yeah, we'll just jump to that. So I think pros. I think I like the compositions that I chose.
I'm surprised how much the shots we got then are so similar to what we would get now. I mean, obviously, like the quality we
more
would
polished.
get is polished, but like so many of those compositions are still shots we use.
Yeah, that's always been a big thing for me. Is like we were just talking about before we started. It's like I'm huge. I really love composition. That's kind of when it comes to like visuals. Is I really like messing with that stuff, and I think you see a lot of that in Rendezvous Midnight because like I'll frame things on the far left or the far right, or like have the gun in the hip in the foreground, and then like someone far in the like that Western stuff. Like that's always stuck with me. So I think the composition wise, I love the choices there. Again, like I wouldn't have gone handheld probably, or I would have it more smoothed out, the movements. I wouldn't have reflections in sunglasses. Some of the lighting isn't consistent because we had a work light, moving around. But
You don't really notice that.
No, but some of the lighting looks pretty good, but that's because we didn't really use any lighting except for the street lights that were there.
And we put it in black and white. This movie I don't think would have looked nearly as good or held up as well if we hadn't put it in black and white.
Yeah.
And we played with color a
Yeah.
little bit.
That took me by surprise when we rewatched it.
Because we used the gunshot, the screen goes red.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
Yeah.
And that moment builds up really well, actually. For amateur writing, like that moment, like it's the intro that I think is the weakest when it's just me and Wyatt talking. Because it's very like, why are we here? Well, do you have the gun around your ankle?
Yeah.
That's important. But like, once we get over to the gangsters or whatever, like that stuff feels a lot more organic, I guess, and a bit more natural.
I feel like
It feels like a movie.
Yeah, I feel it's all well paced. It's just not well written.
Yeah.
Like, but then again, like, it's tricky. Like, if the dialogue was better, the the intro would have been fine, and it would have all flowed fine. But because it's not well written, you all probably watch it and be like, oh gosh, this is going on forever. This is terrible. But for us, thinking about what we're going for, the pacing is, it's fine.
It's fine.
I think it moves at a pace. It's just the writing is not up to the standard. You can see where there would be a nice natural conversation here about what we're about to do with this music video section, with this moment of tension in the middle. Like, you can see where all those holes are, where what would go there.
And
it's just not there.
And what's great again is spoilers, the gunshot that goes off, like that breaking of that tension, like it comes so much sooner than you would expect. You would think, oh, this is going to go on for a really long time. It's going to be this big, game of wits and words and all this, and it end in a big gunfight. But the fact that it ends so quickly and is cut off so fast, I think that's a huge strength of the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people wouldn't. They would let it keep going for a really long time, but we didn't.
Yeah, I think another strength to the movie is this is for when you're starting out for like short films or for whatever. Like, just pick a scene and just film that. Like, that should be your first movie. Is like, just do one scene, and that's really what this is. One scene out of what could be a larger feature.
I mean, we always went into knowing this was like the climax of a movie. Like, there would have been a whole movie to this, but we just didn't shoot it.
Yeah. So that's what was good about it. Was there anything else?
I mean, I think what was good about it, I mean, we talked about a little bit how, like, oh, it's, that high school experience where it's, doesn't match the fact that we're too young to play this, but I do think a pro is like, that didn't stop us from making it anyway.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, it's like, oh, Travis should have probably played the bad guy because he's the oldest.
Yeah.
But, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I think the pro is like, we didn't let any of our limitations stop us from making this movie.
Yeah.
Even if, there might have been a better way to do it.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter.
No, that's there's this thing when you're a kid, you can learn languages easier. So bilingual kids, when you pick up languages as a kid, it's easier. And part of that's because kids aren't afraid to make mistakes. Like, if they say, I can't think of an example.
Me want food, not I would like some food.
Yeah, if
like
they say
that,
me want food, right? They're not afraid to ask for the food. They're using all their skills that they can. They're just like want to get the point across.
Yeah.
And because of that kind of fearlessness, they're not afraid to make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you learn. And that's why adults, when you're trying to learn a language, it's a lot harder because you're conscious of your mistakes. And so we don't run headfirst into, making ourselves look dumb or like making mistakes. So you got to have that when you're a filmmaker. You got to be fearless and not be afraid to trip and fall and all that stuff. And that's what I think is so great about high schoolers in particular when you're starting out, or middle school, or whatever age you are.
Yeah.
You just can't be afraid of looking foolish, even though you will.
You absolutely will. You're making a weird movie. That's great.
Nothing wrong with that. Like, that's awesome. We all, like, sometimes you fail and it's awesome. Sometimes you fail and it's not awesome, but like, you're learning. It's all about the process and learning how to make a movie and learning how to get better, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
And I guess that leads into cons, which
I mean,
I have many.
Yeah.
So many more cons and pros, but let's have you start.
I mean, I'll just go out and say, like, don't wear reflective sunglasses, like mirrored sunglasses. Like, black, that's one thing, but like, these were full-on chrome sunglasses I was wearing. So you can see everything that I can see behind camera and the camera.
Yep.
So I wouldn't suggest that.
The sound is atrocious.
The sound could use some work.
Sound could use some work. Could have been dubbed, perhaps.
Mayhaps.
Yeah.
It would have been a pretty easy movie to dub, actually.
Yeah, because the lines aren't that difficult. What else? Cons.
Having more than one camera battery on set.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck shooting on your phone, which is great if you want to shoot on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
But it never feels great when it catches you by surprise.
Yeah. Writing-wise, again, just sucks. Writing, it sucks, but,
It was the best we could have done at the time, probably.
Yeah.
Because again, it was like one of those things where you don't have that critical thought of like knocking, like we viewed it the way we thought we were trying to get it across. like we didn't let the fact that it was cheesy or, you know, too expositional like stop us from making, because it was, again, like in our heads I think we saw it differently.
Yeah.
But now it's just hindsight. It's like, oh, okay, that doesn't actually connect.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's a good example of like too much exposition and telling the audience and not showing the audience. Like, for instance, the Wyatt, he goes, you still got the gun around your ankle. That's only there to set up that, oh, they have guns around their ankle. You don't need to say that. We could have just done that in a close-up. Like the character scratches his leg and his pant leg comes up and we see a gun around his
most of
ankle.
that intro could have been done without dialogue. I think the whole intro could have been done without dialogue.
Yeah, there was too much. I think if it had just been them standing and then they meet, that would have been enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need all this backstory, because there's a lot of backstory there. You don't really need any of that. Then what happens is they meet, they show up, they're like, okay, let's make the exchange. And then it's like, okay, then you're in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you don't know what's going on as an audience member, it's really engaging and thrilling.
Yeah.
So this short really could have benefited from just cutting all the dialogue pre the meetup and just having them just go in and meet up, and we don't know what's going on. Then it's all confusing, and it's like sometimes that works a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great.
What other cons? What else sucks about? The music choices. I mean, come on. I think
Music choices are pretty great.
music is pretty awesome. That's not a con, but
Carry this movie on their shoulders. These great
really.
songs. I mean, I could see someone argue, like, and I said this when we were watching it, like, oh, Travis should have been the bad guy, probably. I mean, it is just casting to who can do the role best. Andrew's tall, so he looks kind of older, so he kind of can pull it off. But once he talks, he sounds like a high schooler at that point. So
I'm not sure if the fonts work so much
for like the text.
The text, or do you think they work?
Credits?
I don't think they work that much.
I think they're fine.
They're
I didn't
passable.
think about it.
Fonts could use some work.
Think
about your fonts.
The red was good though.
Yeah. The color grading wasn't actually like, I just brought the saturation down. I could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
I think.
But it was fine.
It was
black and
okay.
white is always a good, I mean, not to say it's a crutch, but like if you're not sure, black and white holds up, I think, a lot better than poor color.
I think it was planned to be in black and white.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Highly recommend shooting your movie in black and white if you don't have good lighting.
Yeah. Oh, the gunshot doesn't look great, I don't think. But that was because that was like, I don't know, the first visual effect I did ever. So.
No, it's not true. The Nerf war.
Oh, yeah.
It's a different story.
That's a whole nother story.
Drawing laser bolts in MS Paint frame by frame.
Glad
that wasn't me.
Yeah. No, that's true. I once animated in Microsoft Paint with Windows Movie Maker. Yeah, that's a whole nother story for another time. Yeah, but I think, I don't know. Did we cover
everything? Yeah. I mean, it's our first movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it boils down to. I think everyone who's made their first short film and it's kind of time has passed kind of gets it.
Yeah.
Where it's like you had this really ambitious idea. I mean, ours wasn't too ambitious.
Hold the mic down.
And you make it, and you got your friends in it and stuff, and it's this really cool idea. But over time, it's like, oh, like you can still appreciate what you were going for, but it's like, oh,
yeah,
you missed the mark. You can tell.
Yeah.
But I don't cringe at it.
No.
Necessarily. I still enjoy that movie a lot.
No, it's some people have home movies. I think filmmakers, they have their like first movies, their shorts that they made on like just random cameras, and it's just a nice kind of time capsule.
Exactly.
Of where you were at that time. So, what time we got left? 24 minutes.
We got 24 minutes, or that was 24?
That was 24 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, that being said, any wrap-up thoughts?
I think that was kind of a wrap-up thought,
Okay.
I guess.
Well, comment down below. If you're a filmmaker, put your very first short film in the comment section. We would love to see it.
Yeah.
We promise we won't judge.
No, we actually love watching your guys' work.
Yeah.
It's kind of the best.
Yeah. Whether you are just starting out now or you started out a long time ago, show us the very first thing you ever made.
Yeah.
Because every journey starts somewhere. And that first step is so exciting. And they say you have your entire life to prepare for your first movie. And then you have, weeks or a month for the next one after that. And you're just learning after that from every point after. So yeah, share us your first movie, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Check out our playlist of the movies we made.
Yeah, our greatest hits. Catch up, because we'll be releasing these every now and again, talking about just the next one on the list. So Rendezvous Midnight forward.
Yeah, next one is I think Heartbeat.
Heartbeat and Beat My Heart
And
Skip.
it's a double bill, double feature.
Yeah.
So check those out. Yeah.
Great. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next video.
Bye.